Hi, kia ora, and welcome to the Creative Matters podcast, where we have really inspiring conversations with artists living in and from Aotearoa, New Zealand. I'm your host, Mandy Yakic. Hi, welcome back to the podcast. Fingers was established in 1974 by a group of young jewellery makers to promote their work. Fingers has become synonymous since then with innovation and originality and the development of an indigenous style of contemporary New Zealand jewellery. Fingers has been at the forefront of treating and displaying the craft object as art and has constantly challenged the notion of what is precious. As the oldest contemporary jewellery gallery in New Zealand, Fingers has become an institution recognised locally and internationally, providing a platform for many artists' careers. In this episode, I'm very lucky to be speaking with jeweller Roy Mason, who is one of the founding partners of Fingers. We explore Roy's experiences at Ilam Art School in Christchurch in the early 70s, his early artistic practice, insights into his creative thinking, and how nature inspires his work today. Roy reflects on how and why this group of like-minded craft makers came together, the early days of Fingers in the old Purdue perfume factory in Lawn Street, which is in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, and the move to Kitchener Street, opposite the Auckland Art Gallery, Toi o Tamaki, in 1987. Roy talks about the Fingers early group exhibitions, a pivotal part of the establishment of Fingers, each one focusing on a chosen concept such as a material. We discuss how the partners worked together and supported each other's practices, the use of diverse and less often seen materials such as paua and mother of pearl, how the group shows allow for the team to experiment and push boundaries, and how other artists have now come on board with a total of 72 artists exhibiting in the gallery today. This is a super fascinating look into an iconic New Zealand contemporary jewellery collective, who this year celebrate 50 glorious years of intelligent art making. Good morning, Roy.
Good morning, Mandy.
It's so lovely to have you here opposite me in the studio.
Thank you. Yes, it's a really beautiful Muriwai day and looking forward to talking with you.
Yeah, it's a real honour actually, and I really appreciate it. I know it's probably not the sort of thing that you would do normally.
No, not quite.
No.
I'm normally listening to music and, busy on my bench.
Yeah. So I really appreciate you coming to have a chat. Now, we have met, so we're fellow Muriwaians.
Yes.
We have met, I think my husband George fixed your bike.
Yes, brilliantly.
Yes.
Very grateful.
So it was lovely to meet you then. It's interesting, isn't it, that there are four of the partners some of the previous partners who live in Muriwai,
Yes.
Alan Preston,
Yes.
Michael Cooper, and then Margie Phillips.
Yeah.
Also lives in Muriwai,
Yes.
and yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is it about Muriwai that draws you people here?
I think for Alan, it was his chance to enjoy the beautiful greenery of Muriwai, and he scored a $5 a week batch, which how could you turn that down too?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's good.
Ruth and Brian were out here for a while.
Were they?
Yeah. And Michael came out a wee bit later. It's just such a lovely place to be. And when we first came out, it was relatively easy to get here from the big smoke.
Yeah, that's certainly changed in the last, probably in the last 10 years. It's got really bad, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, Muriwai does attract a lot of creatives, doesn't it? What do you love about living here?
Muriwai's got lakes, waterfalls, forest walks, and 90% green. I find a lot of inspiration with the just walking around, looking at the sand dunes, getting into Houghton's bush camp before I was kicked out. There's just amazing bush in there. There's just a lot of inspiration There's a lot of organic form. And it's inspired me, and still is. Yeah.
Do you think a lot of your work has responded to this place for a long time?
Yes, I do. Yeah, yeah. I've made devised a lot of forms from looking at the sand dunes, how they fall. And presently I've been making leaf brooches.
Yes.
Out of real leaves, picked up, and that was inspired from walking through the bush and just seeing them and thinking, these are fantastic. How can I make these more precious, and how can I stabilise them?
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, I think there's nothing better than connecting to nature in a place that you love. I think it's so inspiring creatively. Yeah.
Yeah.
You studied sculpture and went to art school at Ilam in Christchurch.
I had actually two goes at getting through Ilam. I failed maths at school. I got something like 17% for maths, which encouraged my parents to allow me to go to an art class at Papanui High. So in the sixth form, I got 3 months of tuition, and that was enough to encourage me to go to art school. When I was at school, I was drawing a lot, couldn't help myself. So a lot of my drawing actually went into my history book, which was, so I draw historical situations in cartoon form. And when I went to art school, I found out from the others that I did not know who Picasso was. I did not know who Rodin was. I hadn't had any of that training, and I was an avid political cartoonist at that point. So I found myself drawing cartoons of the drawing lecturer who was modelling, and he was so annoyed at me, and I struggled through my first year and failed. So I luckily got picked up by my my Papanui High School teacher, Yvonne Rust, who was going to the west coast of the South Island to start a pottery over there to allow the miners who'd been lost their jobs in the mines to become potters, adventurous.
Wow.
And I, with a couple of other guys, went over there to help build the kilns for her. And leaving Christchurch, which was sort of like a grid pattern city, very stiff, I came to the west coast and realised what green was, what difference there was in a landscape that was active in organic form. And I remember on one walk, I saw a tree that had pulled a fence post out of the ground, and it was captured and about 6 foot in the air, and it was just iconic. Another time I went to Lake Brunner, and I found myself in a grotto that was just emerald green moss everywhere I looked, and it was just spellbinding for me, and such a so invigorating. And that's when I really found organic form, how it works. So I worked at Greymouth Hospital, and earned enough money while I was helping build the pottery. So I had enough money to buy a red MG sports car or go back to art school. I made the better choice,
Yes.
I'm quite sure.
Yeah.
And I came back to art school with a clearer understanding of what was required.
That's quite brave of you to go back after failing.
I guess I sort of realised what was, coped with it because I realised and started to understand what was required of me to get through art school.
A lot of it's a maturity thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 And how lovely that your teacher got in touch with you and kind of took you under her wing a little bit.
Yes. She just got me at a loose end.
Yeah.
And it was a good experience for me. Yeah.
That's so nice, isn't it? And that sort of probably helped you to get back to studying art, do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I did a small amount of pottery while I was over there too. And she had a studio in Colombo Street in Christchurch, which gave me a real, helped me catch up with what directions I could be interested in. Yeah. Because clay's also a very malleable material and very, very much of the earth. And that was, good for me. Yeah. I found myself really challenged by the difficulty of life drawing and slowly realised that the process of life drawing is looking at 3 dimensions with your mind and translating it onto a flat sheet in 2 dimensions. And the intriguing and difficult process of learning how to do that, learning how to look at the shadow and light on a life model and put it down on paper, became a real learning curve for my mind. And I found when I was starting to do more life drawing, I was actually able to start to translate the life model into design and dynamic form. Yeah, I really got involved with life drawing. I found myself really drawn into the challenge of it, and the result, the reward, was being able to sort of turn a teacup around in my mind and then turn a piece of jewellery around in my mind before I even needed to draw it. I could see it. So I found the gift of going back to art school was hugely involved in my studies of life drawing. Yeah.
And it's really informed your practice.
It has enabled me to understand organic form too, and how to draw organic form, how the curves in the human body, in a horse, and in nature, and the curve and the fall of a sand dune, there are certain dynamics that are essential to translate, or you lose the reality of what you're trying to make. And I can just remember my art teacher, Yvonne Rust, sitting me down one day and getting me to hold my hand palm upwards like I was holding water, and pointing out to me that the curve of my inner palm, where the water would be, was what you would call negative. That's a negative curve. But actually, if you look really closely at your palm in that position, that negative curve is all made up out of small positive curves. And those positive curves are there because there is inner life driving and swelling the form of your hand. And that's a something that I've always tried to imbue in something organic I've made is seeing it as having a life force and a swelling of energy to the surface from its inner core, and I just love the playing with organic form to keep in touch with what I see as my natural environment. Working with flat sheet is really challenging because you've got to have very good graphic design, perhaps, to bring that to life. Working with clay or wax, you've got something you can mould. You've got something that has an organic base and organic energy. When I started to find myself, when I got to Auckland, I started making things out of using the lost wax method, largely because it gave me the chance to play with organic form.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And did you ever imagine when you were studying sculpture that you'd become, well, I'm not sure if you call yourself a jeweller. I know you call yourself a maker.
I call myself an artisan, actually, because it's
artisan.
Yeah, it sort of covers the bases without nailing me down too much.
Yeah, it's quite good. You don't call yourself an artist?
No, not really. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm happy to see that, but because I initially wanted to find another outlet than galleries, I worked in form in Christchurch for the woman who ran that for a wee while, and I could sort of see the difference between the purchase of art and the reason some people may make art. And at one stage I sort of thought of it as what I'd call safe vault decorating, where it was quite an emphasis on investment. And I guess art for the street would be and making things that were on people was important. And what drove that a lot was actually when I was at art school, I came across the Scythian race who travelled from Rome, Mediterranean, to Scandinavia to bring back the amber, which they traded. And so they were mobile European nomads, and everything, because they were moving, everything they used became infused with their culture and with their decorative powers. And so their bridles, their pots and pans, everything they used was imbued with their art. And I just loved that idea, particularly of the time that I was in. This was the sort of late 60s, where we were so optimistic we could change the world, and didn't think for a moment that it would change or would not change.
Yeah.
We were just so enthusiastic to find a more human, sort of tribal way of approaching things. So I was really interested in I made talismans and amulets.
What is a talisman?
Well, a talisman is a disc, perhaps you'd call it, which they used to wear around. They'd sew them onto a sort of like a leather scarf that would go around their neck, for one, and which would enrichen their connection with what they were involved in. So I made talismans, one of which was a tree, which because of when I was in the West Coast, I saw a lot of timber milling, and I saw the way trees were just dragged off and sliced up, and it was fresh to me, and I was really affected by the sort of casual brutality of how we use trees. And then I realised trees produce wooden tables that last 40 years, and I realised this wood is not dead. This wood is serving. This wood is a benevolent gift of the trees, if you want to see it that way. It's not. If it was dead, it would be dust. It serves, and so I saw that as, and what I called it was benevolence, and I tried to put that in a talisman. Another one I made was a sunburst on the face of the talisman, which and on the back I put, "Are we the fire that burns the world?" And that was from a statement Band 2 said, "The calf, we are the fire that burns our country. The calf of the elephant is exposed on the plain." And I just found how amazing that how they would come to that when they are so light-footed with their impact on the earth. And the sun on the front of that talisman could be a bomb. It could be the sun, could be a bomb. It could be what we do to our world. So I was really interested in making didactic work at that point.
And when you left Ilam, were you thinking you were going to be a full-time artist?
Yes, sort of. When I left Ilam, I left the womb of 3 years and had to completely rediscover myself. Actually, I very quickly ended up riding motorbike up with a friend, his motorbike and mine, up to Auckland, and sort of pretty much landed in Auckland without much of a plan. And I worked as a fire protection engineer, sweating profusely in ceiling spaces, installing pipework. And then I had an accident at work, and it was 3 months with my wrist broken, and that gave me an amazing gap, a lucky gap to find myself and take up my craft and art pursuit again.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? That
Yes.
it was like a little gift.
It was a gift because I was sort of trapped in trying to survive financially and hadn't had a space to rediscover myself. Yeah.
So in 1974, you came together with all these other makers.
Yes.
And that was the beginning of Fingers, which is,
Yes.
New Zealand's oldest artist collective, oldest contemporary jewellery gallery.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's lasted for 50 years.
Yes. Amazing.
You're 76 and you started
75.
75.
Knock it back.
Beg your pardon. Oh my God.
It's all right. I'm seeing 76.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Thanks,
on the
Mandy.
horizon. So you were 25
Yes.
when this started, which
Yes.
is just insane that that it has lasted so long.
Yes.
So how did it all come together? I know you started at the Purdue Perfume Factory in
We
Lawrence
did.
Street.
We did.
What was the plan?
Yeah, well, Alan, I was I'd got into gardening, and I was digging up my potato crops at Muriwai, my first potato crop, and Alan Preston walked on to where we lived and introduced himself and explained very briefly his enthusiasm for getting a group of like-minded craft workers together, and giving us the opportunity to control the sale of our work and control the direction of our work. And I said yes, and went back to harvesting my potatoes.
And did you actually know each other?
No, Alan had found me. I was I'd managed to pull back from wholesaling what I was making, where I'd established myself pretty much through a lot of little craft shops throughout New Zealand, South Island, North Island, and had taken up a position in Cook Street Market, which was just buzzing with incense,
yes,
leatherware,
loved that place,
all the pottery you could dream. It's just such a shame the council doesn't provide that entrepreneurial starting place for people. Alan was in the higher echelon of Brown's Mill, and he saw my work, and that's how he collected us, from where he could see all of us with outlets in craft shops around Auckland. Yeah.
And was he doing it purely to give you this opportunity to be able to, like you said, show, have some sort of management on how your work was sold? Was it really all about that, or was it to create that collective and that sort of group vibe?
It was a lot of that, and Alan had the vision because he had come back from England and had more of an understanding of what was potentially possible. And it was a huge risk because none of us were trained, and here we were. So it was, as is in the book, our book, unplanned, no manifesto,
no business plan,
and I would say a 3-month punt before Christmas to see our way through and see where it led. It was that unfettered.
And if somebody had told you then that you were going to be around 50 years later, you probably would have laughed.
Yes, we would have. Yeah, we would have actually. There was no concept of how long it was going to go for. What changed it was how we evolved and the amazing response. We just started this at a very opportune time. At that time, there were amazing women clothing outlets like Tiger Moth, which were, again, very, very stripped back, little holes in the wall where all the equipment was very minimal, but the creative vibe was just fantastic. The clothing was just so avant-garde and so tie-dyed and everything that a forward-looking young person wanted to see. And so we were gathered up in that wave, but we were doing it with jewellery. Yeah,
which I do find quite interesting because I feel like the 70s. New Zealand in the 70s was pretty conservative, and
yes,
and it's hard to imagine how your average Kiwi would sort of actually approach quite contemporary jewellery made by New Zealanders. I mean, even the fact that it's made by New Zealanders, in the 50s and 60s, most of our interesting jewellery was coming from Europe. So
yes.
You were kind of trailblazers in a way. I just wonder how you were received. I mean, you said that it went really well, but it is actually kind of surprising in that decade.
Well, I guess Alan had this vision of where. Well, he had the ability to lead us forward, and we all encouraged each other to expand and take risks. Probably about 3 or 4 months in, after we talked ourselves into having our first exhibition, and this was probably the pivotal thing that helped us establish ourselves from being at art school and having to design sculptures, I had to do test drawings and make models and think the thing out and have a concept of what it was I was going to beaver away at. And I guess that was one small thing I helped bring to Fingers, was the idea that we, as a group, we'd focus on a concept. That concept might be a material, which we would all decide to investigate in our own studios at home, and and then the fantastic event when we would gather in the shop to put the work up for the exhibition, we'd all be just fizzing with interest at what each other had actually put together.
That's such a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were quite adventurous, weren't you, all of you, even from the beginning, and you still are today, and all the people who exhibit in the gallery are as well. You were quite adventurous with the materials that you used.
Absolutely.
And it would have been probably, I can't imagine many other people using the kind of materials you used.
Not to the extent that we as a group built our enthusiasm for. The first thing we did was really realise that we had the opportunity to walk away and separate ourselves from what was the tradition and the means of making jewellery in Europe, which was largely expensive materials, which induced sort of status of those materials, and also the quite often the vagueness of what the decoration that was on the piece of jewellery from Europe was actually doing. It was often just decoration, whereas we gave ourselves a concept, and this meant that we had the ability to actually use a material with a reason to how to shape it, and the more we did this, the more we realised we were actually giving ourselves the voice of all the materials that we could discover in the Southern Hemisphere, in the Pacific. And we pretty soon realised that was our mantra, was what is not able to be used. We'd have shows where we would just absolutely find someone had pushed the limit. Peter Woods at one stage did pie and 3 veg
Really?
in a necklace. Daniel Clasby came along with a smoked fish around his neck. And these were just indications of just how far people were willing to see the use of really diverse materials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How incredible.
And approaches to what could be done.
That's amazing. And when you were so experimental like that, I guess having that artist collective must have just been so sort of inspiring and would really help you kind of forge ahead.
Yes.
But were you thinking at that time, is the smokefish necklace going to sell? Or, how were you kind of bringing it together from a more commercial point of view?
Well, the exhibitions were a step aside of what we were also producing in our studios to survive. So I was making my talismans, I was making rings, necklaces, bracelets, all of which I had a sort of a rich I would form a concept of what they were about. They were about life on Earth. They weren't just decoration, and a lot of them were based on organic form, my understanding of that. And a lot of us were following each other's inspiration at that stage, and seeing if we could bring an income in with there, and then we'd let loose a lot more on the exhibitions, and really see what could be achieved with a focused show.
So you had the sort of more accessible jewellery that people could kind of connect to.
Yes.
And then the more...
Not too outrageous.
Yeah. And then I guess a little bit more mainstream, although probably still not that mainstream, but a little bit...
It was all well off mainstream, actually, by pretty quickly. All of the school level of making was accelerated by virtue of the opportunity to put really good, well-made work in the shop. And we watched each other's backs on that too. We all lifted our game because we could see we were teaching each other to a large extent how to approach a lot of this. So it was that group energy. And then slowly people would bring their work to us, and they would have another amazing slant. Ruby Gash used Doe, the Fimo. She was just so exotic. She was making all these jungle, weren't focused on New Zealand, but they were just so amazingly on fire with animals and flowers and plants and leaves, and just completely gypsious approach to jewellery, which you would never have seen in any other shop in New Zealand at the time.
Amazing.
Yeah, so we were a lot of the exhibitors helped the energy lift as well, and added another voice to what we were showing as the partners.
There's such a great concept, having that show every year, which I guess would have really kept you pushing yourself.
Well, actually, I think we had shows even more than that. The energy level was there was a lot that I didn't participate in, because they were that someone would dream an idea up and then get enough people together, and whammo, that would happen.
How amazing!
We've settled to, with the amount of makers we've got now, we've settled on an annual group show, which is a huge effort to put together, and that's a real focus that we know is coming up yearly, and we've done that since 1987, about the years when we really realised that was probably enough to draw upon people.
And it's a great way to work, because people expect it.
Yes.
You know, they know that the group show's coming.
It's coming up.
Yeah. Which is great. And do you think it's still used in the same way, where you do use that opportunity to get a bit, push a few boundaries?
Definitely. There's such a brave, such a courageous attitude, where one's ethic toward making jewellery overrides the the necessity to just sell. So there's a lot of bravery and a lot of offering. In the last show we've just done, the 50th, there's a lot of work there that is challenging, and the honour of making something that you're proud of and seeing it shown in fingers is often the risky reward that you attempted to go for, because that's why you are a contemporary jeweller. You are pushing the boundaries, and you are sating your ability to come up with a really scintillating, well-made idea amongst everyone else's energetic efforts. So it's just, it's not competitive, but it is very productive.
Yeah.
And
I can imagine. It's just such a fantastic way to work, that artist collective sort of concept. And it just seems to have worked so well for Fingers.
Yes.
And now you've got 72 people.
We have.
Part of your gallery.
And we are just so grateful for their collective energy, because, the partners are all pushing their years, and the exhibitors have largely taken over, energising the shop, and we've managed to put this display gallery space together, and they are sort of the lifeblood, a great source of dynamic that is now keeping our gallery moving forward. Yeah.
And it's so beautiful that you have been incredible role models for them, and then they are joining you and
Yes.
Supporting you, I guess.
They are.
Which is, really special, isn't it?
Yes.
And I imagine that it will just carry on. I can't imagine Fingers stopping.
Well, there's no plan, Mandy, to get to the 50th and get this show done. The huge amount of work Michael Cooper does in running, taking all the photographs, largely compiling a lot of the order of what comes in, and setting up the website. It's massive. It's just, we're so grateful. And it is a sort of almost a circular energy that keeps this running.
Yeah. Just, reading your book and learning a little bit more about the journey of Fingers, I found one of the shows that you did really quite interesting, and that was Power Dreams, which was really looking into changing the perspective that people have on power, which is, very much an Aotearoa New Zealand material that everybody connects to. But it always has been something that you see, in bad souvenir shops and that
Yes.
kind of thing. And so
Yes.
it was almost like you were bringing it into fine art.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that show?
I think I can say Power attracted me for its beauty. I didn't really see it as fixed in the sailboat and ashtray and keyring. I just saw it as a fantastic glittering shell, and I suggested to the others that this may be a good material, and I think they too were a bit horrified at first, thinking, Mason, where'd you get that idea? Why are you doing this to us? But wow, what a result! The thing with Power is, if you look into it, if you go online and read about the sad story of Power, I'm so proud that we had a go at saving it, because it is our diamond, it's our opal, and the unfortunate culture of New Zealand has not realised this, to the point where, if I can digress a bit, I found out the Ag and Fisheries Department were so lost for forward movement with Power, they were going to sell tons of it, which were built up and not being used, the shell, tons of it, to Indonesia who are immediately going to dye it to improve and enhance its allure.
Really?
And they succeeded in doing this, to my horror. I went down to the Wellington meeting where that was decided and failed to rescue it. There was a fisherman there who wanted to sell paua in the shell, frozen, to Japan, to a country who would have absolutely got the whole life force of paua, black paua, frozen in the shell as an export item, and he was overridden. We just lost our diamond. We just gave it away to a cretinous craft area in Indonesia, and yeah, it's gone. We've probably lost it.
You think?
So Fingers just took the idea up of paua, sourced enough of it, and the ideas that came forth were just amazing. And everyone found their own voice with the use of paua. And the New Zealand, the Auckland public, it was just the right time for them to realise what we were offering.
And what you could do with it.
Yeah.
And it didn't continue. I mean, do any of you still use that material?
I did recently, and there have been others who are still finding ways to present it. Yeah.
And you also use, is it Mela?
Mela, mother of pearl.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
beautiful
is so
mother
beautiful.
of pearl. I see that as the voice of God. It's chilled. As a material, the decision to cut into a mother of pearl shell, mela, is challenging. To get a saw and go, I'll cut this up. And the Solomon Islands mother of pearl is golden right the way through. It is just such a voice.
Wow.
It's such an amazing material. Yeah.
Do you think a lot of your work, just going on to you, and we're kind of talking about you and Fingers simultaneously, which makes sense. Do you think that you are inspired by the material first, or do you have the idea of the design and then the material follows?
I think largely the material comes first, actually, because it's what you can do with that material that influences your idea. Once you've established a sort of methodology and understand the material, that's when you might in your mind start to investigate different aspects of how you might approach using it.
And then in 1987, you moved from Lawn Street just up a little bit to Kitchener Street in central Auckland, 1987, and that is the location opposite Auckland Art Gallery, Toi o Tamaki, and you are still there.
Yes.
Yeah, so why did you move there, and how did things change from there?
Well, we were moved. Our landlord, because that was the sort of the burst of the stock market, there was such enthusiasm for new buildings. He was going to demolish our perfume shop, reconstructed, and we were told to move. And this was not easy because we still were just barely breaking even. So we didn't have the funds to pay key money, which is where you pay $16,000 to get the key to lease a building. And we had no idea where we would go. But good fortune, we found a building where they wanted what they saw as a creative and stable, goodness sake, tenant who would not just come and go. And they obviously could see that we had a future and gave us the lease, which we could afford.
Really?
And it was just in such a good spot.
Such a good spot.
Yeah, so we were very, very fortunate to find
How
that.
amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And we were sort of, at that point, amazing Warwick Freeman was on board with Alan. And whilst everyone had huge input, Alan and Warwick were just so full of foresight and enthusiasm for creating a better outlet. And in fact, it was Warwick who bamboozled me with the word contemporary and dragged me into the future.
Really?
Because he had so much foresight and could see what we were going to do and how we would be best approached to do it. And calling us contemporary just delineated and defined what we were to someone who may be looking for something more intelligent in jewellery. With that word, they would be encouraged to come and check us out.
Yeah, that's so true. I love that. More intelligent.
Yes.
And I mean, it's in a way these pieces of jewellery are art objects.
Yes, they are.
And they're not all jewellery is. Mm-hmm. And so you've got the whole ideas behind the work, just as in any artist's work.
Yes, definitely. I'm really drawn to the power of a small three-dimensional object, just how much energy and how much dynamic can be put into a small space intrigues me. And there's such satisfaction in making something that can resonate on someone's body. Toy art doesn't have to be weak, though. It has a lot of power, but it's small and personal, which for me was vital for me, and I'm sure for a lot of other makers.
Yeah, there's something special about jewellery. This ring is a fingers ring. I have actually, by the way,
yes, I see that.
put an array of fingers jewellery on today just for you. So
a great collection,
Penelope
and
Barnhill,
a lovely collection.
Yes, Penelope Barnhill made the this ring, which was to celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary. And I actually found that stone, Brazilian topaz, on another necklace that she'd made. Yes. And then I asked if she would take that off. Or take, I think she took it off that necklace and then make me a ring that went across my finger, the stone went across my finger. So that was sort of like a commission, which was a really lovely experience to go through.
Yes.
And then the Octavia Cook, which I completely love, and that's my tailor ring because it reminds me of my daughter. Yeah. And Mandy Flood. Yes. And Lisa Marie.
Yes, Earl. Yes.
Earrings. Yeah, so I got my collection out for you.
Yes, you've helped us survive.
Unfortunately, I don't have a Roy Mason. I would love one of yours. But yeah, one day. So that shift into Kitchener Street, it feels like you went from sort of a shop to a gallery. We did.
All of that happened in a mix of that move. So we all of a sudden had, and we were still iffy about calling it a gallery. It took us, actually, I think I could say, a few years before the beautiful deep space blue of the gallery changed to white.
Really?
Where we assured ourselves we were in the right state of mind and had the work up to a standard where we could be sure enough of ourselves to call it a gallery. And also understand that many people would come to Fingers and look, not buy, but just look and possibly learn and possibly adjust to what it was, the variance and the difference of what we were showing. Many of them, no doubt, came back.
Yes.
But we realised that there was no pressure on someone who came through the door to be more than just interested and enlivened by what we were presenting.
And
so
you really
we were
do
there
feel
for looking.
like that, yeah. It definitely has that feel about it. You don't feel pressured to buy.
Yes.
And it's like people want to share their work. It's just such a lovely space. I like the way you have, I mean, in the past, I think you each had a day where you used to work in the gallery, and then the other days you'd go home to your own studios. So you never really worked or made together, did you?
No, some did. Alan and Warwick were just so enthusiastic and driven that they would go down to Nelson with Jens Hansen. They would travel over to other people's studios. I think Workshop 6, the girls there did a lot of working together, and they wouldn't have liked my jazz, Mandy.
Really?
They wouldn't.
I know Helen O'Connor. She's a good friend of mine. She also lives in Muriwai.
Yeah, that's right.
She was part of that collection.
She was, yeah. Helen's made work for Fingers.
I've got one of her rings too, actually. I need to get that on too, don't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do love the way the makers, I'm not exactly sure how you work it, but a lot of the makers work in the store. Is that right? In the gallery?
Yes, we have staff, Mandy. Yes, who are makers, and they need to be. Really, that's just vital that they have that first-hand experience of what an exhibitor has likely gone through.
Yeah.
And to also recognise and offer the school level, which mayn't be that obvious to a buyer, being able to assure them that it's absolutely well made and all aspects of its life have been considered when it's been made. That's so important.
Yeah.
That's always been important. As our craziness and adventurism expanded, it was also always known that we would have to back that up with skill. So there were nothing falling loose.
Yeah.
And disappointing people. Yeah.
And you definitely do that. And you have such an amazing reputation for the quality of work.
Yes. And that's another area where we've all lifted each other's game and quietly mentioned perhaps how something could be improved, or we've just seen it. We've just seen, hey, this is the standard that I need to achieve to put this piece of work in Fingers. Yeah.
And that's great, isn't it? Yeah. And how do you actually, do you invite people to come and show in the gallery, or do people approach you and you choose as a collective, or how does that work?
A bit of both. Our gallery image about draws a lot of people to want to participate in Fingers, and that's often the way that we will find someone who's not well known enough, but is on the right level of making, and we will always ask them for 6 or so pieces, so we can sort of see how they've matured their idea, and then we will discuss it amongst us, amongst the partners and the staff, and adjudicate and give them a show and give them a run for their ideas, maybe a cabinet, and quite often, more often than not, at that point they become one of our contributors.
And they stay sort of indefinitely until they are ready to leave, or do you sometimes swap them around?
We have been very lucky that unless someone pulls out of their own accord, we have enough display space to, that's how we've got to sort of like 75, which is nearing our maximum to give each person a decent display space. We've people have come and gone, but we still have a lot of the stable exhibitors, and they, there's a time where each exhibitor is absolutely on the pulse and has another fresh idea that they're absolutely following. And then there's times when people need to just sit back, we all do, and just quietly investigate a new approach. So the work coming into the gallery sort of rises and falls a little bit here and there, as each person's energy contributes.
Which is important.
Very important.
And who do you think your customer is?
Well, they're looking for intelligent, small works of art, and a lot of them are self-employed. A lot of them are university students who follow us. There's daughters and sons of mothers and fathers who have always bought, who have found us and stayed with us. And they know pretty much that with the diversity of work that we're lucky enough to offer through our energetic exhibitors, they're likely to find a gift or something they want.
And there's nothing more special than buying something that has been handcrafted by somebody.
Yes.
I mean, to me, that just means so much.
Yes. There's white bread and there's sourdough.
And there's Vogels. Although Vogels is probably not as great as it used to be.
No.
There's a lot better breads out there.
Sorry, Vogels. Yeah. It's there's a difference between someone who is really connected to their craft, and someone who is just producing. I used to call it making things to buy rather than making things to sell. I see there's a huge difference there, and I've always tried to be clear in my mind. What I'm doing.
And now in your practice, you make rings and bracelets and necklaces and brooches, all sorts. I wanted to actually talk to you about brooches because in Fingers there are a lot of brooches, and in general in society you don't see that many people wearing brooches anymore, which I think is a shame, and I personally have never worn a brooch.
Right.
But brooches are exquisite.
Yes.
And I'm not sure why it's not a very common thing for people to wear. Well,
brooches are an unincumbent concept. They stand by themselves, and as long as they are made skillfully enough to sit well on your clothing, they are pretty much a small work of art. They're like a small painting. They're an announcement of your sensitivity towards what you're wearing, and what you've purchased. They don't need resizing. So there's a lot of things brooches have already solved in terms of moving from the maker to the buyer. That's probably got quite a bit to do with it. There's sort of like a single
yes
recording in effect.
That's right.
No, not much alteration is ever needed.
No.
And so that's
a bonus from the maker's
that's
point
possibly
of view.
one reason why it's attractive to make, and people are drawn to make them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why aren't people wearing them as much as you think they might?
Well, I think actually Fingers actually sells quite a lot of brooches.
Yeah, I can imagine Fingers' audience would appreciate them.
Yeah, because just about every brooch in Fingers has got a voice. It's actually saying something, something very subtle or something quite proclaiming, and that's always attractive to a buyer if they can find the right statement. And they'll possibly buy it. Yeah.
So all the technology that has happened over the last 10, 20, 30 years, I guess, has influenced some of your makers for things like 3D printers and using other technologies. Do you feel like that has shifted the work that is being produced in Fingers, or do you think that the makers are kind of keeping their traditional practice?
Largely, I think we're still very much guiding our design by hand, and there have been a few makers offering 3D printed necklaces and such. The material that they're having to use to print with is probably one of the issues. It's still fairly restrictive what they can use to make the design out of. There's still plenty of scope for the handmade item, even if it's in perhaps Joe Sheehan's really, really minimalist Panamu designs. They are so innovative and pared down to simplicity. They're very modern and contemporary.
Yeah.
But still guided by hand.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I think that's the richness.
Yeah.
That's still there to be seen.
And that is expected at Fingers, which is great.
Not saying that that someone, please come, please feel most welcome to show us your design if you are out there and formulating a collection of computerized designs. Please come.
Great. So
We're ready.
You are open to it. And things like social media, I mean, obviously that wasn't a way of promoting what you do and sharing what you make in the 70s. How have the sort of original partners handled that, or have you just passed it on to new staff to manage?
Our online presence, Mandy. Our staff do participate in energising Fingers Instagram and a little bit of Facebook, I believe. I'm not a great Facebook person. I've never really been there, probably won't. Michael Cooper is incredible in his skill levels. He taught himself HTML. He has got the school levels to build our website, and he does a massive amount of input, building up our whole archive and our current visual showing online, and we are just so grateful. for his endless effort, particularly with the big shows that he manages. So no online instant purchases, but our staff and manager are often dealing with overseas inquiries where there will be a sale on the strength of the imagery that they're seeing and their knowledge of the quality of the maker. So it does happen, but we've not got prices in online sales.
No.
And the jewellery we're offering is really personal. It's so necessary to feel the weight of it and turn it around in your hand and understand how it's been made to fully appreciate what it is. And you just can't do that online.
No.
So it would have to be, I'll be brave enough to say vacuous in some areas to give people confidence if it wasn't for their reputation backing up the 4 or 5 images they may have to make their decision on. But often it may be just 1 or 2 images from United Kingdom or America, and they will be confident enough to make a purchase. But that's not usual.
Not standard, no.
Yeah.
And when you look back on that 50 years of being part of this incredible collective, which is iconic in New Zealand, I mean, you've created something that is pretty legendary and will not be forgotten, which is, must be an amazing feeling for you.
It's a thrill because it all happened while we were busy in our workbenches.
But you've done
trying
something
to survive.
right. I mean, what do you think you've done right? What has given Fingers this long-lasting life?
A lot of group decisions as to what to show and how to show it. Right at the beginning, before we moved to Kitchener Street, to our present site, we had a mantra jewellery for the beach. This was aligned with power shoal jewellery, stone, bone, wood.
Sure.
We just realised New Zealanders are different than people that get out of a car in high heel shoes with their jewellery on. We were going to offer it so they would just carefully put it in their bag at the beach. It also, we were highly conscious of the parameters that could be taken with the breadth of contemporary jewellery and what that incites in terms of a maker. So we've sort of got a limit on what unwearability is acceptable. We don't have to say it too much because I think it's understood by everyone's quiet agreement to ensure that there is a level of wearability, and because contemporary jewellery is so open-ended and so adventurous and so prepared to break every boundary, it really encroaches on the frustrated sculptor and the frustrated painter, whereas we really want to offer our buyers something to purchase so we can survive, because that's so important, particularly with things being difficult after COVID. There's been a few big swallows. We're coping, and ensuring that there is parameters on wearability and obviously quality of build is really important to us. Yeah, and I think that's helped us. That's one of the things that's helped us survive. And Alan and Warwick's endless energy for making connections outside of fingers with the Craft Council and other institutions has also made those responses spread our reputation and solidified a lot of respect for what we do, which comes back in many other ways, through media and such.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's an incredible achievement. And what do you think is your biggest joy over these 50 years of being part of this amazing Fingers Collective?
That I've been able to work at home, have a amazing amount of peace and being able to make a lot of decisions of what I'm going to make, what I'm going to make it out of, take the chances, see the results, make changes to that, be my own maker, and not be restricted with that. It's given me a life where I can feed myself with inspiration at my own pace, and enjoy living in Muriwai, breathing the air. Very, very grateful for how Fingers has given me that amazing opportunity that I was looking for but didn't know how to find.
Yeah, and you didn't probably, as we said, realise, the impact it was going to have on your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah. Oh, well, Roy, thank you from the bottom of my heart for trusting me and for, getting out of your comfort zone and talking with me.
Thank
I have
you.
absolutely loved it. And your story is so interesting. And congratulations on 50 years.
Thank you, Mandy. And heading towards the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to see where it goes next.
Yeah, we ain't done yet.
No way. And I'm sure there's another 50 years of Fingers at least.
Yes, that could well be the case.
It's
just
so.
a matter of how that's handled. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk with you too, Mandy. And thanks for helping my fizz brain focus.
You did so well. And it was an absolute joy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.